Hi everyone and welcome to my very first process video for Blvd. This week the whole creative team is focusing on the Secrets of the Sea Girl collection. My layout today is using lots of the pattern papers to create a fun fringed background for this photo of my daughter on the beach. So I've chosen 6 of the pattern papers and I've just arranged them in a basic sort of rainbow order. What I'm going to do first is to cut them into strips about 3 inches wide. And I want them arranged on my white cardstock background exactly how I had it before. So starting with pink down to yellow and green and then finishing up with the blue sort of aqua tone down the bottom. To add a little bit more dimension and texture to the background, I'm going to do one of my favorite techniques, and that is adding a fringe to each of the strips. So you saw just there I ruled a pencil line along the strip. Then I just take my fringing scissors and cut up to that pencil line, and I do the same on every strip, that way they're all uniform when I adhere them down to my layout. I'm using fringing scissors, but you certainly don't need to use them. You can just use normal scissors and just snip your way along your pattern paper strip. So I did that very same technique to all 6 of the pattern papers. And once they were all done, it was then just a matter of adhering them down to my background. I started down the bottom with the blue colour and just worked my way up, just eyeballing it for spacing. And as I'm adhering each one down, I can't help but just sort of ruffle up the fringe a little bit with my fingers. It's so fun. Once I adhere my last strip down on the top, I did actually pull it back up again and decide to just trim it down a little bit. Thought it was a bit too wide up there. I wanted some more of the white showing. So I just trimmed a bit off it before sticking it back down. I did pull out my T-square ruler for this top strip and to make sure that was nice and straight. That was done. I pulled out my trusty old misting box and I'm just going to add some white flecks of mist or watered down paint onto my pattern paper. While that's drying, I'm going to work on my photo. So I grabbed my photo. My photo was just a little bit smaller than 4x6. I'm going to give it a mat of white cardstock, and you just saw me roughing up the edges a little bit. I decided to pop it up the top of the layout, overlapping the fringe and the white. With the 6x8 paper pad, I'm just flipping through to see if there's any pattern papers that I can put as layers behind my photo. I just thought it needed a couple of layers to sort of make it stand out from the background a little bit. So I ended up just using one of the pattern papers from the 6x8 pad and I trimmed that down to be a photo mat. I cut a couple of the blocks from the Daily Details sheet of paper, but obviously those blocks aren't big enough to be a full photo mat. So I ended up just cutting them into strips, giving them some banner notches on the ends and tucking them behind the photo. I think that's just enough to make the photo stand out a bit from that busy background. For my title, I'm going to use the new acrylic words. I can't get enough of them. They seem to match every single layout that I do. I've got a little bowl there with all of the die cut paper pieces in. I'm just going to go through those paper pieces and decide which ones to use on my layout. So I've sort of stuck to a colour on colour theme there. So the aqua die cuts on the aqua fringe, the yellow on the yellow, the pink on the pink, etc. Some of them I'm going to adhere straight down onto my project, and some of them I'll adhere with foam dots to make them a bit raised, give them a bit more dimension. I ended up swapping out that mermaid from a die cut to a puffy sticker, and the puffy sticker just has a little bit more dimension again. to add some interest to the white cardstock area at the top of my layout, I'm just adding some flicks of yellow and pink mist. And then I decided that the top edge there just needed something to define it a bit, so I went through my washi tape stash. This washi tape isn't actually from the Secrets of the Sea collection, it's from Make Your Mark collection, but it's one of my favourite things is when I'm doing a layout with a lot of rainbow pieces on it, or a rainbow colour scheme, I like to add something sort of black and white. I think it just helps make the colours pop. So I'm going back to work on my photo layers there. I believe off camera I have machine stitched around that white section of cardstock at the top of my layout as well. So now that I know where everything's going to go, I'm ready to rough up all the edges and start sticking everything down for good. I can be a very indecisive scrapbooker, so I usually don't do the sticking till right at the end, in case I change my mind. I added a layer of craft foam behind my photo just to give it a little bit more dimension as well. It just saves using a million pop dots to pop it up. So I'd adhere my photo down, and then I can add on all those little embellishments that I've got sort of overlapping the photo there. A couple of flowers and a little phrase from the fundamental sticker sheet. The next thing I want to do is to glue my title down. So I just use a liquid glue to adhere the acrylic words down. It holds really well. I've never had a problem with it coming off or anything like that. I need to add the date to the layout, so I use the Illustrated Faith date stamp. And the date stamp stamps a little design or icon beside the date, but I'm not going to use that on this layout, so you'll see me in a second. I just trim it off and only adhere the date itself onto the layout. Just as a final bit of embellishment, I'm going to add a few of the epoxy hearts from Illustrated Faith. They're one of my favourite embellishments. And then finally my journaling to finish it off. So I've typed it up on some white cardstock. I just trim it into strips, arrange and adhere onto my layout. I just used double-sided, tape runner, sorry, to adhere those strips down onto my layout. And then my layout's all done. So I've got some close-up shots coming here as well as a shot of my whole layout. It's so nice to see all the texture and dimension in real life. It's really lovely. And my daughter was thrilled, of course. I hope you enjoyed the video today and got some ideas for a technique to use on your next layout. Be sure to check back with the Bella Blvd blog all week as the team shows you lots more ideas using this fabulous collection. Bye for now.